Welcome to Havering Means Business Morning Commute. As you know, my name is Chris Dames, and I'd like to start today. We're going to invite people into the room, and I can see there's people in the waiting room already. I'd like to start today with one of my favourite topics, which is social psychology. So it's sort of nudge theory. Now, Francis, you were just talking earlier about Dan going to a wedding venue but not asking you to marry you yet.
Yeah.
But I'd recommend two books that I love about social psychology that you definitely need to read. Number one is a book that I love called Influence by Robert Cialdini. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I have. Yeah, I've not read it yet, though.
Genius. And then the one that you need to give to Dan is just called Nudge. And I'm not going to say any more about it, to be honest, because I think it, I think it says it all. And on that note, welcome to the people who've joined the call, and we'll go around and say hello to everybody. Now, I haven't thought of a sort of icebreaker, but I have now. I've got one now. I interviewed a new guy for my business, Savello, yesterday that we're probably going to take on. Now, the only problem is he's really into heavy metal music, and that isn't any of our in the office's bag. So we're going, do you know what? How's that going to work? But we after he left, we thought actually, you know, we might, you know, as a new musical taste, be persuaded to try something new. So we're going to say first hello to Simon. And number one, what was the last thing you tried that was new in your life, Simon?
Thanks for throwing me under the bus, and good morning.
Literally, I didn't have a question, an icebreaker question, and I just thought I'd start with you first because I know that you've got the ability to answer, mate. Is that enough thinking time?
Yeah, tequila is the answer.
Tequila?
Yeah.
How was it?
Yeah, after about the sixth shot, it was pretty good.
Good. So it took 6 shots to get used to, did it?
Yeah. No, I'm now a convert amongst other spirits. And so yeah, no, I shouldn't be talking about alcohol at 8 o'clock in the morning, but yeah, no, yeah, something new.
I mean, as long as you're not drinking tequila at 8 in the morning, I suppose it's all right.
No, just, well, it is tea, I promise. I do promise. But yeah, no, that's probably the most recent thing that I've done and turned out to enjoy it. And
when did you get into tequila?
Because we were out with my son, his girlfriend, my other son, my wife, and somehow shots came into the discussion, and then it just went from there. I'd like to say everything was a blur, but it wasn't.
Not after 6. I mean, I'm surprised by that.
No.
You know what? Are you a tequila connoisseur? Have you got, because I don't know. I'm in my home office today, and I've got my gin collection just there. Are you a collector now of tequilas, or are you just when you're out and about?
No, but what I will confess to being, and obviously we're just amongst friends here, is I am actually a master whiskey blender, and I have a certificate to authenticate that. So possibly there is an element, there is a bottle out there which I potentially was involved in and sold the rights to. I'd like to think that, it just makes me feel good. But yeah, I have a certificate to say I'm a master whiskey blender.
So was that a previous career, or was that sort of...
No, we used to, friends and myself used to go up to Scotland once a year.
Right.
Yeah, and we obviously had done numerous tours and we knew the processes, and we could actually tell the tour guides you know, about how whiskey was made, etc. So we needed something a little bit different, and hence the person that was organising this sort of stuff said, well, how about we do some sort of not only tasting but blending. So yeah.
Cool. Good stuff. Is there a spirit you're not into?
I would say now those two are my key ones. But I'm always open to new challenges. So if you can suggest anything, And as we've got Christmas coming up, I probably started off on a really bad note here.
Yeah, amazing.
But,
no,
yeah.
you know what I love? I mean, literally, I'm looking at doing the challenge for next year, and I'm looking at the 3 peaks. You're just looking at drinking a bit more booze. I mean, that is, I don't know what to say about that, to be honest, mate.
Yeah, probably time to move on then. Probably time to move on.
Let's do that. Stephen, how you doing, Steve? You doing well?
Yeah, I'm doing fine, thanks, Chris. I was hoping you were going to carry on with the heavy metal discussion, because I'm a lot older than most of you here, if not all. And I remember the times when I used to go to rock venues, small little pubs, to watch Atomic Rooster. That's when I had hair down to my shoulders.
Gotcha. So last week then, yeah?
Yeah, and Deep Purple and things like that. So I really, but the other question you raised about something new, which Simon's just is Zoom. So, me again with IT, it goes over my head totally, but I'm learning how to use Zoom a lot more now.
Well, I'm more interested in Atomic Rooster, to be honest. Tell us a bit about them.
Well, I'm talking literally over maybe 55 years ago.
Yeah.
And I used to go to a pub called the Red Lion in Leytonstone High Road, right? And there was a little room upstairs, and it was very heavy. The noise when you came out of that, a small little room, and there was an African rock band as well I used to go to called Osabisa. Now,
have you checked whether? I mean, have you still got the CDs or tapes?
I haven't got. I've got a load of the large LPs up in my loft still. I tended to fixate on certain groups and end up buying every album that they ever did. And I went to see the Boomtown Rats many times down in Hornsey.
Who's your band of like if there was one band that like you'd say
there's two to be honest. One is the Who, and I saw the Who quite a few times, but and also people might not like this, but Status Quo. Status Quo, I've seen, no word of a lie, I must have seen about now 40 times, 50 times. I've had lunch with some of the boys in Budapest and Bratislava. We used to go and see them go abroad as well. So, obviously my taste has changed a little bit over the years, but I loved when my daughter was about 17 and 18. I told her that I wanted to go and see Lady Gaga. So that's the one thing with parents, to embarrass their children. And I love Lady Gaga. And you go to a concert. And
I think to a certain extent, when your kids start to grow up a bit, they educate you about music, don't they? Because they're into stuff that you're not connected to.
Absolutely. But, within 10 minutes of the concert starting, I was on the chair and I was dancing away, and she kept saying, "Dad, please sit down, please. You're embarrassing me."
Amazing stuff. I mean, we won't talk about yet Francis and I's Billy Ocean obsession. We'll talk about that a bit later on. But yeah, Billy Ocean is just, because of Francis, has now come into my life again in a big way. Carol, good morning. How are you?
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm good, thanks.
Good stuff. So talk to us about either music, tequila, or something new you've tried. You choose.
I thought of something that we did that we've been wanting to do for ages, and I'm always a bit, I don't know about new restaurants. I don't know if it's going to be anything for me, especially in Chinatown. So we did go to Chinatown and went to a restaurant that looked like it had a lot of Oriental people in. So hopefully it was really the genuine, real thing and everything. And we wanted to eat dumplings, and yeah, the menu was just absolutely massive, and I just didn't have a clue what to order. And I knew that they've got a reputation, haven't they, for not being so friendly in the service side of things there. So I just thought, well, I'll just buck the trend and ask what to order. And she pointed some stuff out to me, and I ordered it, and it was amazing, and everything was amazing.
You know what? I like eating in Chinatown, particularly like sort of dim sum, dumplings, and just dip and stuff like that. Charlotte and I was down there probably, 4 or 5 weeks ago, and it's a really good experience. I love it. And it's always busy as well. We sat outside, so you just watch the world go by, don't you?
Yes, so busy. It was, yeah, I had my mask on because it was a little bit too busy.
Did you have tequila with your dumplings, or did you decide not to?
I didn't have any tequila, but I have been known in the dark and distant past in my youthful days to be drinking tequila with Mexicans, and they have that tequila with the worm in the bottom.
Yeah, yeah. Not good, not good. And talk to me about the latest like music trend you've found. Is there what are you into? I can't believe we've never had this conversation before. But what music are you into?
I'm still into. It's not the latest, obviously, but I'm still into the 80s and Take That.
Okay, moving on. Stacey, no, I mean the 80s. Clearly, we love. And you know what? I've got to be honest. There are some Take That tracks that are sort of not bad. Stacey, save me now, please. I need your help. Hello. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with tequila? Do you want to start with music, or do you want to start with something new?
Oh, let's just start with all three, shall we? So tequila, not a huge fan of, obviously, well, especially younger days doing shops. Sipping tequila, completely different. Music, don't like new music that's coming through because they're just recycling our 90s music where I grew up, and the originals are still better than the remixes they're making today. And alcohol, a huge fan of spiced rum and gin. So
oh, nice. Well, I'm a gin fan, but you know what? I was on a booze break because I did a marathon a couple of weeks ago. So I was on a booze break on the run up to doing the marathon, and I tell you what, I realised that I absolutely love, which is a new thing for me, espresso martini.
love one of them.
I love it. I just absolutely love an espresso martini. So talk to me about the thing that you found that's new that in your life.
Bubble tea. I tried bubble tea the other week, and I don't know if anybody's tried it at all. I was out with my friend, and it's in September. I went to the PA show, and it happens at the XL every year. And we were at a Chinese restaurant there, and there was bubble tea on the menu. And I thought, okay, give it a go. So they had all different various flavours, but they have like tapioca pearls in the bottom. And when you suck it through the straw, the tapioca pearls hit you in the back of the throat, and then you have to chew them. I actually like the bubble tea, but not the tapioca pearls. I just found that they felt like it was just like squishy rubber, like you know, chewing it, and I was like, no, I can't be having that. I kind of picked them all out.
I feel exactly the same way. Why ruin a good tea by putting bubbles at the bottom? Do you know what I mean? It's just it doesn't make sense to me why bubble tea is a thing. And when I first ordered a bubble tea, I probably had one a couple of years ago. When I first ordered a bubble tea, I was like, "Are you meant to eat those?" Because I'm eating them, but I'm not sure whether they don't feel particularly edible, do they? You know, no. It's just one of those. I don't know. Yeah, bubble tea is something I've tried, but I don't think I'm ever going to try again. Thanks, Stacey. I really appreciate that. We'll talk a bit of business on the. Firstly, welcome to HMB Morning Commute. And just so you know, we don't only talk about music and booze and bubble tea.
I think that's a great opener for a Friday morning, to be perfectly honest with you. First talk of the morning about whiskey and alcohol.
Well, exactly. Starting with tequila's not a bad move, is it? We'll move on for that. Thanks, Dave. Really appreciate that. We've got Lisa next. How you doing, Lisa?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Right, where do you want to take this? We've got booze, we've got bubble tea.
Take that, really, I'm afraid. You can't help it. You've got to love a bit of Gary Barlow as well. I mean,
you're right. As a songwriter, pretty good. Yeah. And I've got a bit obsessed.
He's got better with age, isn't he? Really, Gary. Just saying.
Yeah. Carol's nodding vociferously. Over lockdown, I really enjoyed the collaborations he did as well. Did you watch his Facebook channel?
Yeah, really good. Yeah. Really good.
Go on then. Talk to me about the Take That song that is like the gateway. You know?
Oh, I don't know. Me and Paul had one of Gary Barlow's songs out, one of our wedding songs from Open Road, which was good. I don't know. I think they're just all good. And it was a frenzy, wasn't it? I was probably, I don't know how old you are, Carol, but I don't know, probably 12, 13. So it kind of hit me right.
I'm 26.
You were 26? Oh, you're 26.
I'm 26 now.
Yeah, I've got you. Yeah, so I think it just hit me at the right time, really.
So Carol, you got into it on the second wave, right? You know, when it all came back.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know anything about when they used to tour around nightclubs in like those skimpy outfits.
But I will say my big kind of what I really love is Queen. My mum in the back, I can just picture myself in the back of my mum's car listening to Queen. And obviously, you know, Freddie's no longer around, but we're pulling over to see Queen with Adam Lambert next year. And he's fantastic. There's a brilliant documentary on Netflix about Adam Lambert and Queen, and just the way they all talk about each other. It's brilliant. So that's the kind of, I don't know, just sitting in the back of my mum's car, being forced to listen to it, and then eventually being like, oh.
Well, I mean, the funny thing is, Cassie, and next time you see her, ask her about this. Cassie, one of her like enduring childhood memories was Live Aid, because her dad was really into that sort of music, had all the windows open in her house when Live Aid was on, was playing it into the street. And did you see, you know, the bit at the end of Bohemian Rhapsody, the movie, where they did the sort of revamp of the Live Aid?
Wasn't it?
Well, it was amazing. On YouTube, there's a thing that looks at the actual footage and the thing that they did, and they put so much work into making that right. Just Cassie still cries about that because it's such an emotive.
I've got to intervene.
Go on, Steve. Go on.
I've got the video of Live Aid still in my drawer. You know, 30, 40, I don't know, you know, I'd have to get it turned into a CD or something, or a DVD, but it's still got the old box of Live Aid.
Well, VHS.
Yeah, I've still got it.
Yeah, I mean that's not. I mean, I know they've done, you know, those big global concerts like since, but it's never been topped, has it? Really, in terms of experience. But yeah, Queen is a. And I suppose music always brings back them nostalgic memories about, you know.
My mum's grey Volvo, I can picture myself sitting in it arguing with my sisters, probably.
Yeah, I mean, the problem is with my family, Lisa, is my dad's musical taste, and Russell will tell you about this as well, was shocking. I mean, he had a record player, and his most listened to music was Chris de Burgh. Oh, God, don't even get me started.
I feel your pain there. But I also think with Queen as well, like when you kind of know more about them, they just did so much, didn't they, in so many different kind of areas, and you know, they challenged so much of the status quo, that even with their music, but just with the way they were with people. And I've got to say, I've got a little bit of obsession with Brian May as well over the years. He's such a nice human being. Well, certainly he comes across that. Clearly, I don't know him.
Yeah, 100%. Have you seen We Will Rock You? Have you seen the musical?
No, I haven't. Is it?
It's good.
Yeah,
they're definitely worth seeing.
That might be something new that I do then.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's spot on. So, but I suppose the other thing, and I don't know why, but the 70s get loads of stick for being a generation which wasn't particularly like sort of at the forefront of music. But you look at the Who, you look at Queen, and for me, you look at one of my favourite albums ever is Rumours by Fleetwood Mac, and it's just, you can listen to it all the way through, and it's brilliant. Absolutely amazing. Thanks, ladies. I really appreciate that. Francis, where do you want to start? Do you want to start tequila? Do you want to start music? Do you want to start something new? Or do you want to start where you should start, your Billy Ocean obsession? Let's start with that.
Absolutely, Billy Ocean. So we'll just dive into music. Music is a real passion of mine. And I go to an 80s festival every year, me and the girls, and we dress up as Space Invaders. And now I've seen Billy Ocean twice, and he is brilliant. He's absolutely amazing. And then, like Chris says, I kind of go on a Billy Ocean tangent. It keeps me awake at night, singing "Get Out of My Dreams, Get Into My Car." And yeah, it's just brilliant.
How's David feeling about your Billy Ocean obsession?
Well, Jake actually doesn't have much of a say because I just turn it on and we dance in the living room. So Billy Ocean is actually banned when Dan's at home.
Okay.
But that's actually kind of a unique kind of music that I'm into, because I've already bought tickets to go and see Stereophonics and Foo Fighters next year.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of a rock chick, but have this kind of streak in me of 80s-ness, which is brilliant. I love the diversity, and that's what we're dragging my son up to as well.
You know what? Having a really sort of broad taste in music, I love. Do you know what I mean? I'm off to see. I mean, it's been booked since 2019, but I'm off to see Gregory Porter tomorrow at the Royal Albert Hall. So I like recent years I've got more into jazz, but like sort of Stereophonics I love, you know, all the sort of 90s and noughties indie bands, you know, all of that sort of stuff. And I was like, as a teenager, it was all Blur and Oasis for me. That was the sort of things I sort of got brought up with. Thanks, Francis, really appreciate that. Let's talk a bit of business. We're going to start with Steve Silver. Steve, tell us about what's going on in your world work-wise.
Well, the government, as most of you know, I deal with insolvency and people that the stress and anxiety that debt brings to you and you as individuals and business owners. But the government has been trying to help things move along, and the latest thing for individuals is what they call a debt respite scheme, and it's normally now known as breathing space scheme. So, you know, you can sort of apply for this scheme, and it gives you 60 days to sort out your financial affairs, and it protects you from any proceedings being made against you and things like that. And what was interesting, it was actually launched in May of this year, and the latest statistics up to the end of July, there was already 18,000 registrations for this breathing space scheme. But what concerned me is the high proportion of mental health crisis that applied for these schemes as well. And it was, you know, it might not sound a lot. I think it was just over 200 or 250, but that's still a hell of a lot, you know, in a very short space of time. And I can see from a lot of people that I'm meeting now, the pressures that are being brought on households for, you know, we're dealing with their problems. And also I'm dealing with corporate situations with bounce bank loans and C-bills. A lot of them have been abused and people have spent it in different ways. And, you know, the government and their task force are really going to come down quite hard. You know, the banks are sending out letters all the time now.
So it's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I know we work on, you know, both in the financial sector, but probably opposite ends of the scale. Whereas you're dealing with people in trouble, I'm dealing with people who are probably a bit closer to financial independence and getting them to achieve it. But even at my side, money still becomes a stigma, because I don't think that people have open and honest communications about money early enough. What do you think?
Oh, absolutely. That's always been the case.
Yeah.
You know, people still, you know, bury their heads in the sand. You know, I was looking at a couple of letters that came through for my son yesterday, and you know, he's trying to sort out a problem with a utility warehouse over a bill, you know, and so forth. But you know, if he'd come to me, he thought he could sort it out, and he hasn't been able to. But yeah, a lot of people have got debt collectors chasing them for money here and there, and it's a sad state of affairs. It really is.
So tell us a little bit about the scheme. What situations you need to be in to apply? Can you apply directly, or do you need to do it through somebody like you? How does it work?
Good question. Hold on a minute. I have to really look it up. It's a fair, as I said, it's a fairly new scheme. But no, normally you could do it either through your accountant if you're a business owner and so forth. But as a creditor, you can deal direct on the government application. Most of these things are, you know, online and so forth. And you know, the debt advice providers, you know, I normally with situations advise people not to spend money with people like myself unless it's absolutely necessary. You know, Google is a fantastic thing. You know, the government help schemes are amazing. A company, a department called Step Change, I'm sure you've heard of Step Change, is a fantastic organisation, and they will put you on the right path and advise you correctly in these things.
And you know what? Interestingly, you know, for clients who we don't think are right for us, because you know, there is a cost to working with somebody like us, and it's only right for certain clients to do that. There's the money advice service, and there's other government-run agencies where they get free guidance, and we'll always have to point them in that direction if we think it's right.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm getting a lot of different things at the moment. I'll give you a quick list of things. I'm dealing with a fish and chip shop, all right, 4 kebab shops. They seem to be running in parallel here now, and there's a common denominator with food, but we've got loads of things. I'm dealing with only 2 days ago, I was given 3 recruitment companies that they were dealing under an umbrella company that was meant to be dealing with their payroll. And this umbrella company suddenly disappeared. And now HMRC are chasing them for a massive amount of PAYE. So we're trying to sort that out as well. So it's a wide range of things.
That's not unusual. There was loads of those umbrella businesses for recruitment companies pop up and pop back down again. It was meant to be more convenient for recruitment firms, but we've heard about a couple that have sort of lost out because of that situation. Yeah. And just talk to me about the greatest challenge in your business at the minute, Steve. Where do you need the most help?
The greatest challenge it's only started when I became self-employed. That was I've only been self-employed 15, 16 months. And the greatest challenge for me was to get motivated, because, I've been employed all the time, and then suddenly I'm unemployed, self-employed, working from home, and relying on my existing contacts and so forth. Yeah. And it was just building it all up, trying to find new contacts. So networking's helped a hell of a lot. I don't get a great deal, but it's getting my name about, my exposure and so forth. And that's where it's helped. But things are starting to pick up.
One thing I wanted to mention on that is I've been in conversation with a number of HMB premium members, accountancy, law, HR, across a range of sectors, to make sure that effectively, if you're a HMB premium member, you can have an hour of any of our other premium members' time for free. So if there's anything you need support in, if you wanted to become a premium member, let me know and I'll point you in the right direction. Thanks, Steve. Really appreciate that.
Thank you.
No worries. Carol, tell us about what's going on in your world work-wise.
Yeah, I think everyone knows what we do, leaflet distribution, but yeah, just busy, and we've really suddenly gone busy with the business-to-business drops. We haven't done one for quite a while, definitely not really since the whole lockdown thing kicked off, but yeah, it's just really gone quite busy now. So we've got various maps that are under various headings, and in those we can tell you approximately how many businesses there are, so how long it would take us to drop to those, and the main difference is obviously they're businesses, but the post person will actually go into the business with a view to getting the leaflet to the relevant person. Quite a few businesses, especially the ones in Romford around Western Road, Eastern Road they'll have a security person rather than a receptionist on the desk. So yeah, it can be a bit tricky getting past those, but yeah, they generally get a pretty good return. It's just a good way, obviously, to advertise your business-to-business services.
I suppose as well, now we're all opening back up, we're not spending the days in our houses anymore, so you've got to go to where your target potential market is, right? Yeah,
absolutely. You can definitely get from residential jobs because everyone's got to live somewhere, so we'll tend to find that business-to-business services will target maybe the Emerson Park areas where perhaps there's a more chance of company directors, owners, decision makers live in. But yeah, it's been interesting to see the way the business-to-business has just suddenly, just gone crazy. So exciting times.
And have you got something to show us? Because normally when you come on Morning Commute, you've got a visual aid, and I can't let you finish without the visual aid.
I was going to give it a break this week because I just don't know if it's a bit too. But yeah, this is so exciting. The YMCA are just absolutely really kickstarting their gym again because all gyms have really suffered, haven't they, over lockdown. So YMCA's got free trials and they've got loads of parking there as well, and a lovely cafe there. which she's just looking to see if you still get a free coffee, but I'm not going to read all of that now. These guys are new to us. They're in Hornchurch. So we've got their menu there. These are mostly ones, I don't think I've got anything here that we actually printed. Oh, we're giving out these, aren't they cute? Little booklets going out in Harold Hill and Harold Wood. So that's a pretty big thing for us, especially when we got the first month after about 2 weeks into the month, and they still expected them done by the end of the month because it stays the month on it. But yeah. So I haven't got any examples here, but we obviously also offer print services. We can design and print your leaflets for you as well. So yeah, just always spread the word, please, to say if anybody needs anything, we're here.
So the YMCA gym, I mean, you can, like, it's a monthly membership and you can be there as long as you want, right? And sort of stuff like that.
Yes. So the trial is a 7-day trial. And then, yeah, I guess it's a monthly. I'm just trying to have a look and see.
Because it might be fun to stay at the YMCA.
It could be fun to stay at the YMCA.
Let's not even go there. Let's not even go there.
I was making myself laugh.
Oh God, that is so bad. Talk to me about challenges. Talk to me about what's the biggest challenge you've got in a minute?
Challenges?
Yeah.
Saying goodbye to kids. Well, I'm also not on mute, but we've done that now. But yeah, just we're going through a real time of really knowing for a while we've needed some extra help. And yeah, just getting into it now and thinking, right, we need we've obviously got all of our post people, we've got deliverers that deliver to all of the post people. So the next stage is somebody to make up all the boxes of leaflets, which we're doing at the moment. But of course, our time is better spent, running the business and growing the business. So it's going to be a challenge to find the right people.
Well, I mean, that's part of our sort of recruitment phase at the minute, because what we've had to do, and I don't know if you guys are doing it in your business, is just split down all the jobs that the existing team do and see what new role we want the new person to perform. And it's actually quite insightful, because you sort of realise that there's a job on your list that's best placed on somebody else's, right? And that happens as the business continues to evolve. But yeah, no, that's an interesting one. Thanks, Carol. Appreciate that. Stacey, talk to me, and I promise. Now, normally I don't make. Actually, I do. The puns are normally as bad as the one you've just heard. So apologies for that in advance. But I promise, the bad jokes, because it's your first time, won't be there. Tell us about you and your business.
Right, so hi everyone. Obviously, my name's Stacey. I've recently left my day job after many years of being in corporate finance companies within London and Canary Wharf to launch my own virtual assistance business. So I will be offering administration support and executive management support to companies in the local area and further afield. For anybody who would like help to streamline their business, take away the feeling of overwhelmment, and basically just help them to grow generally, to take away the daily things that they hate doing the most. So like if I said to you, if everyone had a Post-it note and there was one thing in your day job that you absolutely just detested doing, and you wrote that down and I got you to send it to me, what would that be? Things like along those lines I could take away from people and help them with their day job. So yes, it's just about networking now, growing the business, making sure that I can build my profile. So yeah, it's interesting. It's only my second week in being a full-time business owner. Thanks, Francis.
Okay, so let's spend a bit of time helping you sort of, as you're probably the newest business I've met in a while. Let's talk about a little bit about your previous experience and how you think it applies now.
Right, so obviously I started working in the city when I was like 16. So I've built up a various skill set from administration, project management, mentoring and staff, having a team of admins underneath me by the end of my career, like in the city. I managed and maintained a team of like 10 admins. So you're dealing with different personalities, you're dealing with different skill sets, you're trying to get the best out of people. So my role was very hybrid especially for the last kind of 11, 12 years. I've dealt with some of the most difficult people in finance, the most horriblest people in finance. No offense if anyone's in finance over here, because if you work in a large corporate, you understand, like corporate environment, you'll understand where I'm coming from. You always get your really difficult people. Everyone never got on with those people. I always got on with the really difficult profiles, and I don't know why. But everyone was like, no, you can go deal with them because you know how to handle them, sort of thing. It's just, I think it's helped me pick up a lot of the skills that I've learned is what I'm actually pushing into my business. I think it's really good. I think I've just picked up so many different skill sets over the years of how, and I tailor the way I work with each individual, because it's not one size fits all either. And people seem to think one size fits all, and it doesn't. And you have to tailor that to the person to get the best out of them, because not everybody works in the same way. So I think that's really good of understanding your audience and how you can work with them to get the best out of them.
And who's the ideal client? You know, business size. What are you looking at in terms of who you're working with?
So I'd like to work with like small to medium businesses. It doesn't matter which area they're in. I do have a real big love for interior design and architecture. Okay. I do love that. That's a passion for me. I do like that. And everyone walks around going, oh, isn't that lovely? And I'm like, oh, look at the architecture of that building. Isn't it great? And they're like, we're looking at two different things. So I do have a passion for that. And I would love to work with, obviously, interior designers and architecture teams. But generally, my business structure fits across every business, because everyone says you have to have a niche. And I think it's great to have a niche. However, where I'm offering the executive business management side of my business more, it fits around every business by streamlining their systems, their processes, mentoring their teams. So it's not really something that I can just stick into one niche. So it's finding that right balance, I think, for me right now.
Okay, so I've got two additional questions. I don't want this to feel like an interview, Stacey. So just I just want to make sure. I just want to make sure as a new business we're doing what we can to support you. So number one is what was because on the community, we talked about this the other day. I'm in finance. I'm a financial planner. Hopefully, I'm a nice financial planner. I mean, insulting people.
I'll have to ask your team, Chris. I'll have to ask your team.
Yeah, they might give you a different answer, to be honest. But Russ, do you want to pop in and say how all for him as a look? He's not even going to bother.
I think you're an angel, mate.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. That's his bonus. That's his Christmas bonus.
I was going to say you can pay him later. Yeah.
But one of the things that we do in our business is help people transition and make change in their lives, or at the very least make a plan. And what we've noticed is that during lockdown, a lot of people have been looking at their lives and saying, look, I need to understand, approaching us and saying, look, I need to understand where I am financially so I can make that change. Now, clearly, you've made that change during the last sort of few months. What was the factor? What was the point where you thought, you know what, I need to do this?
So there was a couple of pain points, really. I had a few, so I've had two deaths in the family. It was my nan and her sister, the last two matriarchs of the family. And I just sat there and thought, you know what, I've had enough of this. I've been traveling since the age of 16. I'm fed up with traveling every day on the trains, being pushed and shoved. I'm fed up with the way that the company was going. I didn't particularly like the way that the new management was dealing with items. It didn't sit with my core values. And in the end, I just thought, right, I've been saving and saving. So I've saved up at least 6 months worth of salary to give me that kickstart.
Yeah, sensible.
I've been doing capacity planning, and I just thought, you know what, now is I've hit that target, and now is the right time to do it. So I'm like, that's it, bite the bullet, off I go.
Fab, love it. And then talk to me about the future. I mean, it's early days, so it might be. Tell me what the future looks like.
Is world domination a bit too much? No, I'm joking.
Maybe start with havering and then just like sort of move on.
Yeah, okay, all right, I'll start with havering. Yeah.
that'll be 3 weeks, and then you can.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I'm really looking to be kind of like the known resource within the local area, especially for businesses, as a name to go to. For support or for help. And obviously I've met Carol previously at another networking event, which was great. And there's a couple of others that we're going to as well. So that it's really great that I'm getting to know people and get to make those connections. Obviously word of mouth and dealing with people and making connections like this is the way that people get to know you and your business. And then they'll think, oh, actually, I'm at a point now where I need help. And they'll go, right, okay, I'll reach out. You know, I want to build the business within that 6 months to give me the basically replace the minimum wage of what I actually need to replace it to. Also, I've got plans to push that even further with the way that I want to move the business forward. So I want to move an arm of the business into an agency. So I want to build up a team of virtual assistants. So I've got a VA agency as well as them working for people. I also have another idea which is a completely separate idea on the other side of the arm of the business. So it's all further on down the line, depending on how quick I grow and how big
I mean, I think you wrapped out earlier when you said world domination. It sounds really good. All right, Stacey, thank you for joining us on the Commute. Love chatting. Simon, tell us a bit about what you're up to, who you are, and how you help businesses.
Before I do that, I'd like to actually say congratulations to Stacey for starting her business. But the one thing I don't know is what's the name of her business?
Oh yeah, we forgot to ask that. Go on, Stacey, tell us.
Okay, so my surname is Keen, so I've made it Keen to Assist, so I can assist everybody.
Oh, you know what? I missed the pun as well. I mean, you beat me to it, Stacey. Go on, Simon, tell us a bit about what you're up to.
Thank you. Right, my name, for those people who don't know me, my name is Simon Lewin. I work for an organisation called East London Business Place. We deliver a fully funded programme called the Building Legacies Programme. The terminology fully funded might not mean a lot to people, but what it would mean to you is if you're a business in Havering, and we are funded by Havering, or anywhere in London, that you can get free business support from ourselves. What's wonderful to see is there's quite a few businesses who we already work with. So good morning to you. From our perspective, what we are here to do is to be an accountability partner to help businesses go through some of the challenges that COVID has left. But what we're actually finding is more and more people are reaching out to us saying, we need some support. So this week I've actually onboarded 4 clients, which is a nice position to be in. The latest thing on the street that people seem to be talking about is being more sustainable and more around social value type stuff. So showing as a business, if you're looking for a contract or looking to do business with somebody, that you are ethical. What was quite funny last night, a certain organisation that has golden arches, I saw an advert for the first time where they were talking about sustainability and recycling, which is something I've never seen before from them in that sort of sense. So it is definitely something which is being filtered down to other organisations. We've got our own face-to-face networking event taking place next Wednesday over at the Liberty Bell in Romford, or the Beefeater, and that seems to be growing in itself as well. So that's sort of where we're at the moment.
Stuff. I mean, it's really interesting because that values thing. I don't know how you feel about it, Simon, but that values conversation I avoided in my own business when we launched for years, because I was used to coming from corporates where values were put on a wall and really meant very little. And it was that thing where you go, is it, do the, my experience was that in big corporates, and Stacey probably got an insight in this as well, values were something they put in the prospectus, but never were really sort of adhered to. And over the past few years, probably 4 or 5 years, I've found values in my small business really important, actually, because it's what drives everything we do. What do you think about values and what you do with it?
Yeah, I think that's sort of a very, very fair comment. And if you look at how people buy now, sustainability does seem to be a very key thing. We are running a series of different types of workshops where we've gone out to tender and used professionals in certain fields. And I attended one of our procurement workshops. And one of the things that is very clear that SMEs feel that they can't do anything to add value, or they don't feel that they have anything to report in terms of sustainability. But if you work at home, for example, and you put stuff into your different recycling containers, you have a potential of writing a recycling and waste management policy, because that's what you're doing. If you don't print things, you're saving paper. If you're using energy saving light bulbs, you're looking at reducing your carbon footprint. So it's trying to educate people around those sorts of things in terms of values, and getting people to understand that the difference between you and possibly another provider is that you're taking these sorts of things very, very seriously.
Amazing. All right, thanks, mate. Really appreciate that. And Lisa, tell us what's going on in your business, and yeah, tell us a little bit about Redfield.
Yeah, no problem. So as you guys may know, we support older people across the community, mainly to live independently at home, but we also get them out and about. So recently we took a few of our lovely people out to the Queen's Theatre to watch a choir, which was, it's always hilarious when you go out with people. It's like the best experience you can have, and probably more importantly for them, they talk about it for like the days and the weeks afterwards. But it's just, I think for what we do, and obviously we're kind of a values driven company, it's just seeing, for me, it's the satisfaction is seeing the relationships that are built between the clients and the people that the care professionals that look after them, and just all the things that they know, and just sharing of lives, really, which is just, that's incredible. And I think obviously for us, we've not been able to do that during the COVID period. So to kind of get back to our roots of, why we started Radfield, what we want to do, how we want to kind of be companionship led, I think kind of for us, it's all coming back. And I think that's probably the most sort of exciting thing to me. We've had a few kind of promotions in the team that's going to, kind of help us build and move forward. But we're also very keen to, I think I might have said this before, to remain relatively local. So which is different, I think, to some maybe care providers, they kind of grow and grow and grow. We're going to get to a point where we're just going to say, this is yes. Us now. We'll put our business more into like a maintenance phase. You'll always need to still be recruiting. You'll always need to be still finding clients, because that's just the nature of the business. But we feel really strongly that we want to create jobs for people that are actually, to use the word sustainable, but are sustainable, and that trying to buck the trend of burnout and turnover in our industry in really practical ways is kind of what we're trying to do. So things like looking at the living wage, which we pay already, but there's lots of living wage sort of initiatives. There's lots of initiatives coming out of the living wage, like living hours, living pension, that type of thing. And it's about trying to bring that into a sector where it's been undervalued for years, really.
But your approach is different, isn't it? Because that element of, quality of life as opposed to consistency of care is something that you guys do, I think, a lot differently to other care providers, right?
We certainly try. And I think going back to what you guys were saying about values, there's lots of people that talk about values and they say these are our values, but we would say we kind of live into those values.
Yeah, you got it.
We say we're a family and we try and treat people like that. We say that we're proud of what we do, and we try and demonstrate that we're really proud of what we do. So I think for us, it's just trying to live into you know, we say this is what we are, and actually what we do is who we are, and that's hopefully what translates to people. So, you know, I think the values are important. And luckily, I actually worked in corporate finance as well, but I worked for a great company who they lived into their values. So I've been fortunate. When I started work at 16, I worked for them, and I suppose that sort of demonstrated some of the stuff that it kind of plays into who I am now and what I do. So that's really good. And T-Row, you know, that where I worked, they were just really, really good. They did what they said, and they lived into their values. So it's kind of all comes full circle, really. So yeah, but the business is good. I think, as is no shock to anyone, probably recruitment is the hardest challenge within the sector. And I think it's going to be a challenge for the next couple of years. And I think for us, we're just trying to say to people, you know, the jobs that we're trying to create are sustainable. We pay at a good rate. Like we're trying to kind of make it attractive for people as much as.
Yeah, you don't want turnover, do you? That's the thing. You want good quality people to stay with your organisation.
Definitely, yeah. When you get them, if they, you know, you want to hang on to them basically, if they meet the values of the company, totally. So, yeah, but yeah, recruitment, I think, is probably a challenge for lots of people, isn't it? Really.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, we're using for our latest tranche of recruitment, we're using a kickstart scheme with an intention to just employ that person after the 6 months if they're right. But certainly from our perspective, paying over and above what they're funded makes sense to us, because we don't want to use it as a cheap employment tool. We want to use it to create jobs and careers for the longer term. And I think that's the idea of it, right? You know, just sort of do things that are fair. And with, you know, the recruits that we saw yesterday, including the one who loves heavy metal, we've said, look, we pay for all exams, we sort of do really decent pension contributions, all of the stuff that we think make for an attractive career opportunity. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But thanks, Lisa, really appreciate that. And we've had, I don't want to point out that she's late. I mean, I don't know whether Sandra heard the conversation about gin because this gets sort of posted on the Facebook group, and then thought, I've got to get involved in that. I'm jumping on. Sandra,
always. The minute there's a conversation about gin,
it started with tequila. So Simon mentioned tequila, and I thought, like, it's got to be there. So where do we start, Sandra? We can start with gin. We can start with tequila. We can start with music. You can tell us about your business. Where do you want to go?
Always start with gin. Always. That's the rules. Never anything else. Life starts with gin. After that, because it's the only way you get through the day, isn't it? But also, and then a bit of business, really, after that.
Fair enough.
Business fits around gin, really.
Well, okay, so let's talk about gin. What's your favourite gin at the moment?
I just bounce around them all. I think I've said to you before, Chris, I've got one sitting on my desk. That's how bad life is for me. But you will notice that it is sealed. Haven't drank it yet. I got that from a very good friend of mine, and it sits as my little conscience on my desk. So, so that's one I've not tried yet.
And what's the mixer? Because I'm a gin with just normal slimline tonic and cucumber, spiralized cucumber. That's my favourite. That's my favourite thing to have in a gin. What's yours?
Has to be tea tree tonic, has to be, and it has to have cucumber, definitely. Because I like Hendrix, or I like Tanqueray, that sort of thing. So you've got to have the cucumber in it. Absolutely.
The problem is with my gin collection at the minute, I buy a bottle of gin from wherever we go, and I like buying a gin from, you know, we've got friends over in Guernsey, and every time we go to Guernsey, I'll get a bottle of blue bottle gin, which you can only get over there. And then I don't want to open it. Do you know what I mean? Because it's like sort of, it's a bit more expensive and like
too special.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I need to break the seal on some of those gins at some point. All right.
When you're ready to break the seal, Chris, give me a shout.
You come round. Okay, so just tell us about business.
Yeah, and for those that don't know me, I'm Sandra Connington. I own an organisation called Sandra Connington HR. I keep the name simple because, you know, I can never remember anybody else's name. I provide HR support to small and medium-sized organisations and schools and academies in the southeast. So business is really busy. I hear what everybody's saying about recruitment. Recruitment is so tough at the moment in every single sector. I've been trying to recruit, as simple as this sounds, as a PA for one of my head teachers in one of the schools I got, and we're now on the 5th round to try and find somebody. It's just ridiculous. We can't find good people, even things like good electricians for some of my small businesses. Recruitment's an absolute nightmare. And also,
why do you think that is?
I don't know. We've tried, you know, with some of them, you know, obviously your Kickstart, definitely, Chris, you know, we're pushing people down that as well to try and some good people. Apprenticeship schemes are great, but again, trying to get good people is we're really struggling, and we don't know why. You know, we're offering some good pay, you know, especially in schools, we're offering some good pay. Look at all the good school holidays you get. Nothing, just nothing. So if anybody knows a good PA that's looking for a job, can you let me know? Really struggling. But also the big focus in HR at the moment is restructuring, because businesses have got to cut costs coming out of the pandemic. So, you know, from one end of the spectrum to recruitment, to the other end of the spectrum, restructuring, redundancies. Sorry, I was late. I was actually on a union meeting this morning talking about restructuring and redundancies. So my business is sort of going from one end of the spectrum to the other, because we're trying to get good people in, but at the same time, businesses and schools are having to restructure.
So the other thing I was talking about earlier on in terms of what we're doing with the Haverhill Means Business community is providing effectively an initial piece of free support using other members of the community as that resource. Now, I'm glad you're on, because you're one of the members of the community who's agreed to support the community to do that. So thank you for doing that. Really appreciate that. I think that adds immense amounts of value to our premium membership, particularly. So I've got 2 questions about challenges. Number one, what challenges are going on in your business at the minute? But also, what challenges are you finding are in, you know, other people's businesses from a HR perspective?
Yeah, big challenge in my business really is keeping up with the amount of work, which is lovely for me. You know, I've got a lot of work on, but as I say, the challenge is getting good HR people to support my business to do all these restructures and recruitment activities, which is great. But also just being able to grow the business, because all of my business has been done through referrals. I've never had to advertise, which is lovely. So I get a lot of referrals, which is just great, but it's keeping up with that demand. You know, sometimes you're just maybe too successful, or your name just gets out there, which is lovely. So a big challenge for me is keeping it in pace with the demand that I'm currently got, which is great. And then, as I say, the big challenge for businesses just now is getting the right people in at one end, and sadly doing restructuring at the other, and trying to find, when we're doing restructures, obviously we're trying to find other people jobs. So can I, if you like, relocate people to other organisations or other schools to keep people in work? That's a big focus for us at the moment.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. And we'll come back on when we do the sort of round at the end. Francis, apologies it's taken a while to get to you, but it's all yours now. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about your business, and if you'd like to start your presentation when you're ready.
Yeah, sure. Well, I'll give you my little pitch that I've been working on, and it's really kind of relevant to today where we've been talking about music. But in the words of Rick Astley, I make sure that your social media never gives you up, lets you down, runs around, or deserts you. So if you need if you need someone to make sure your social media doesn't make you cry, say goodbye, tell a lie, or hurt your reputation, then I'm your lady that you need to speak to. But I'll talk to you. I can see Chris like.
I'm just so desperate to tell you, right? We during the summer holidays, I'm running short of time, so I've got to tell you quickly. During the summer holidays, the Dames family had a game of Rickrolling between each other, right? So we had this game where we used to go. I used to be going, oh look, Cass, there's a really interesting. Cass is looking at properties at the minute on Rightmove as she normally does. I said, have you seen this property? And it was just a video of Rick Ashley singing. And we literally had a game where if we Rickrolled each other, you got points. Cassie won in the end. And I'd recommend any family try it. It's Rickrolling your family is quite a good little fun game.
Well,
I'm going to shut up now.
Well, just an add on to that. So my son is really into Shrek at the moment, and we found Shrek somewhere online, and it had been hacked, and there was Rick Astley rickrolling in the middle of it. So I rickrolled my own 17-month-old son. I don't think he really understands what that means, but there we go.
Francis, take the point anyway.
No problem. Let me just share my presentation with you. Let me move myself over so I can see what I'm doing. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. I know that I'm a very, very quiet member in Havering Me's business. As I said, I do keep very, very busy. I have got a 17-month-old son, so if you don't see me, I am a lurker. I see all of you, but I've not been massively contributing to the group. But I thought I'd tell you a little bit about who am I, and I'm that person that is on their phone most of their lives, trying to make your business stand out from the crowd. And I do that by posting for businesses on their social media accounts. We specialise in Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn, so the big four. We have messed around with Clubhouse a little bit, and we have messed around with TikTok a little bit as well, but that's more of a consultancy. And yeah, we basically come up with plans to help businesses to cut through the noise, stop the scroll, and ultimately build relationships so that people will eventually buy from those businesses. There's more than just me. I have 4 other social media consultants who work alongside me, and we all have around about 28 years of experience with social media marketing. I personally have 11 years experience. Can you believe Facebook has been going that long? Because it has just flown by. Today, I'm going to talk to you about creating a content strategy like a social media scientist. We kind of get carried away with feelings when it comes to social media because that resonates with us the most, but there are ways to do it in a more logical way so that you can build on your social media content strategy so that it supports those big business goals, right? We didn't just go into business just because. We have those big business goals or those big dreams that we want to do when we reach those goals as well. So this is all about your having a strategy in place, a logical strategy in place, so that you can reach those big business goals that you dream of. So first of all, your brain is made up of 2 sides. A lot of people already know this, but just as a reminder, your right-hand side is the creative artist side. And I like to call this the canvas side, the side that makes you want to sit around on Canva, play around with photos, play around with color themes and fonts and stuff to create that amazing imagery that goes with your content. Then you have the left-hand side, and this is the logical scientist, and this is the part that we're going to be focusing on today. Because there's a lot of approaches and ideas and experiments that you can do with the logical side before the artistic side comes into play. When we're talking about content strategy and the size of the brain, we want to make sure that we put the scientist first. And by doing that, we're going to be experimenting with a variety of ideas and approaches. We're going to be looking at the data rather than the feelings. So we're going to kind of block out that comparisonitis that we all get from time to time. And we're going to look at those outcomes. We're going to reverse engineer. So we're going to think of that big, big goal, and we're going to think of ways, tactics, and steps in our strategy in order to reach those big business goals. It also helps to eliminate the random stuff and actually to stay on track when it comes to your social media strategy. So you're not just posting because you forgot to post that day. Before we dive any deeper, just a very, very quick note on the importance of social media goals. There's no point posting for the sake of it because that doesn't always get you the results that you want. You don't necessarily want to be focusing on vanity metrics such as follower numbers or the amount of likes that you have, but you want to be focusing on what your social media can do for you in order to complement those big business goals that we talk about. You want to be focusing on the metrics that make a difference to the bottom line. So it might be things like content interactions, it could be website clicks, it might be the number of likes on a post if you're in your brand awareness phase, but I'm going to touch on that in a little bit. But always make sure that your social media goals are SMART. SMART is an acronym which stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. So that's just an overview. I can't dive into that today because there's a lot to go through. But as I said, think of your sales funnel, and brand awareness is always the first step. Stacey, this is for you. A new business needs around 90 days of experiments. So have a look into your social media every week into the insights, and you can adjust it as and when you need it. But now let's get to the meaty stuff. So we're going to talk about the 6 steps of the scientific method. So you're going to start by asking a social media question, or a question generally. And in this instance, it can be quite vague. So how can my goals become a reality by social media? What steps can I take in order to make my goals a reality? And that could be things like playing around with how many times you post in a week, or the types of content that you do as well. The second step is to conduct market research. And actually this step is overviewed by a lot of people. A lot of people skip over this step, but actually knowing who you are talking to means that you can be more specific, and you can create content that actually resonates with them and they're actually going to be responding to. If they don't respond, then that's going to limit your reach somewhat, which means you don't get the word out there and you don't get the results that you want. And just a note, although I said ignore your feelings as a social media scientist, we make 95% of our purchasing decisions emotionally. So think about those feelings when you're conducting that market research. How are your current clients feeling? Or how are your potential clients feeling before they work with you, and how are they feeling after working with you? How do you want them to feel after working with you? And having that related conversation can really help with your content. The third step is to construct a hypothesis. Now, this is a bit of a wordy definition of what a hypothesis is. It's an educated assumption of what this audience would like to see when it comes to content. But basically, it's posting what you know they want to see. Posting things that really, really resonate. And a hypothesis could be something simple as, I'm going to post 3 times a week because my audience are online 3 times a week on these particular times. And I'm going to make sure one of my posts is a video because they love video, and another of my posts is going to be a quote because they really resonate with the quote. And I use quotes quite a lot when I talk about content, because I work a lot with parent and baby franchises, and fluffy mummy and daddy quotes always seem to get us the biggest reach. You then want to test with an experiment. So you're going to be publishing that content that you've done the market research for, that you're hypothesized around, and you're going to press post. You want to really have a look at an end date in mind. So just be mindful that different posts have different lifespans before you kind of make an assumption on a result. But just be aware, you know, reels at the moment on Instagram last around 6 weeks, whereas a post on Facebook, a post on Instagram can last around 72 hours. So just be aware that the end dates might differ slightly, but always have an end date in mind so you can check those insights and have the correct results. Afterwards, you want to analyze that data. Now I've already touched on insights, so you want to ask yourself, really, honestly, did it go as well as you thought it did? And did the results that you got from the content that you posted, did they meet your expectations? And lastly is the reporting phase, where you, even if your post didn't do all that well, how can you use that data to move even closer to your goals? Is it a matter of just tweaking what time you post, for example? Is it a matter of changing what type of content from a photo or a static image to a video, or something that's maybe even an infographic? Have a look into those results, dive deeper, and then you can always go back to your market research and actually ask your prospects or your current clients how they'd like to absorb that information, how they'd like to consume that information for themselves. You can use this scientific method on each of the individual platforms, or you can use it for individual types of content. So we've already touched on static images, we've touched on video, but you can also differentiate it from LinkedIn, from Facebook and Instagram. I know Facebook and Instagram get clubbed together, and also on Twitter, because Twitter has different kind of rules when it comes to the amount of characters and stuff like that as well. So that's a very, very quick overview of how to create content strategy like a scientist. At the moment, I'm not taking social media management clients until 2022, but you can work with me on a one-to-one basis on a consultancy way in a brainstorming session. They're held via Zoom and they are recorded. So I'll send you over the recording afterwards if you need it and offer you some email support. Or as a Brainiac, and Brainiac has just been relaunched over on Instagram. So if you follow me at Social Media with Frances, you'll find out more about that, but it's very, very exciting times for my Brainiacs. Thank you for having me. I know that was so super quick. So if you have any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them now. Stunned silence.
I'll tell you what, I'll unmute, Francis. That might be really useful. And we've got our first question from Steve. Steve.
Yeah, Francis, I read what you sent recently about fillers.
Yes.
And that resonated with me, because I seem to do a lot of fillers and it's not really working for me.
No, absolutely. So that, oh, excuse me, that email in particular, you see a lot of hello October and stuff like that. They don't necessarily have a point to them. There's no real reason to have them there, because there's no purpose, there's no way of strategy, and it doesn't build on any brand awareness, it doesn't nurture any relationships, and it doesn't convert into sales. So the point of those posts is none. So the best thing to do is to take them out completely. They're not serving you, they're not getting you any results, and actually go back and think about what goals you want to achieve in your social media.
Thank you.
No problem.
So I think firstly, to validate sort of one of the things that you said, we've had really success, particularly during lockdown, because we noticed a lot of the new clients, as I said, were going through change in their life. So we did a piece of research that turned into that. So we wrote a white paper called What Happens Next, helping people navigate the next stage of their lives. But I suppose, you know, one of the mistakes that we've made in the past is not being super clear on who we help and serve. How important, and when I speak to other business owners, particularly in the community about it, how important is just having that avatar of, you know, making sure you understand who you help?
It is one of the biggest things in a social media strategy or a marketing strategy generally. I'm sure Carol will say the same. You don't want to be posting leaflets into houses when you're targeting businesses. So actually, when you speak to everybody, you're speaking to nobody, because you don't resonate. You have to think about the language that you're using and the way they absorb their content. You know, there's no point hanging around on LinkedIn if you know they're going to be hanging around in Facebook groups. Having that basic strategy is really, really helpful, and it means that you don't waste time. It means that you're more likely going to get those results when you're hanging out where your ideal clients are hanging out, and you're speaking their language as well.
And then the other question is on automation. So clearly, if we're doing our day jobs and running the business and doing all this other sort of stuff, you know, there's got to be tools and strategies and techniques not to just hang out in these places, to do things automatically. And I know there's, you know, benefits of doing that, but also disadvantages. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, so, oh, excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. I've not spoken all morning. And then I'll just look. Yeah, so there are schedulers, there are third-party schedulers, and there are integrated schedulers. For Facebook and Instagram, they have their own, which is called Facebook Business Suite. It doesn't cost you anything, and it actually helps with your engagement and stuff like that. It helps you to get organised. It shows it in a nice little calendar, so you know exactly what you're doing, where and when. For Twitter and for LinkedIn, there aren't any native schedulers, but I use Hootsuite. There are loads out there. There's Buffer, Sprout Social. It's just whatever you prefer to use. The issue with that, well, the benefit is it saves so much time. I batch create a lot of my content. I think I've done all of my my personal content for Social Media with Frances has been scheduled up until mid-November. So I don't have to worry about that. The issue is, and we found this a lot during lockdown, is that when there is some element of unpredictability in and out of lockdown, like the okie dokie, government announcements, petrol crisis, the lot, that's where you find the issues. So it's about kind of reacting to those ones in some regard, or having some space that you can kind of rejig your strategy, but always sticking to your topics that you want to talk about for your audience. We call them content pillars, and they support your services. They are the topics that you talk about which support the services that you're offering.
And I suppose one of the other things I know I've heard you mention before is ignoring engagement, isn't it? You know, if you're getting engagement, if you're just automating your social media and not engaging with people responding, that can be an issue as well, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So always, if someone's taken the time to send you a message or to write a comment or share something, the very least you can do is write back to them, because they are ultimately helping your reach. They are increasing the chances of your message being received by the right prospect.
Carol, did you have a question?
Yeah, just a quick one. From the scientific methods, you mentioned having an end date in mind, and then of course we know about the different lifespans of different platforms. So do you mean to sort of say go back to it after a certain amount of time and see what the results are, or vary that depending on the lifespan?
It does depend a little bit on the lifespan, but you know, I also understand that you guys are business owners, you don't do social media for a living, so it might be that you just go back and you have a look once a month, and see. Just be mindful that some of the posts that you've posted close to that review date, their results might not have finished yet, so just be mindful of that. A good practice is to try and check once a week, but I know that sometimes not, you can't, you're busy. So yeah, that's what I mean by that.
Okay, good. Any other questions? Anybody else? Stacey's thinking. I can see Stacey thinking about a question, maybe. Anybody else? Stacey, just out of interest, how much does social media marketing fit into your business plan?
Very, very big. Very, very big. I've got to pull my big girls knickers up and start putting my face out on my accounts, to be perfectly honest with you. I hate having my photo taken. So this is going to be a big thing for me. So the big girls knickers have got to be pulled up, I'm afraid, and they've just got to crack on, I think. So you
do realise this meeting does go out on the Facebook group as well, though, don't you? Carol did tell you that.
Well, I'll do now.
Yeah, you've only got about 700 people watching. No biggie, right. No biggie. Right. Good stuff. Well, thank you, Frances. Really, really appreciate that. Thank you for all of the insight. And I love the fact that there's a systemized way that people can improve their businesses through social media. So I really appreciate that. Now, I'm surprised, actually, because normally on our Avery Means Business Morning Commute, Carol just blurts out a win of the week really, really early, and then like sort of is a bit lost. But no win of the week this week so far, Carol. So I'm really excited to go to you first and say, what's been your big win?
Well, I was waiting to make sure this was going to be a win, because I'm thinking that it should be the win of the week for all of us, of having the exposure and the freebie information from Frances. It's just like worth £1 million, really. I just think I'll say I'm a bit biased. I'm not. I am one of Frances' brainiacs. I really recommend it. She's just like there to answer. I mean, I obviously never ask silly questions, but she would be there to answer them for people that did. And yeah, I just think just to get these amazing nuggets and things that we can be doing rather than just, yeah, the Hello October is the perfect example. I used to be one of those. And yeah, so that's me for the week, and just have a great week, everyone.
Amazing. And you know what, all of the knowledge that's shared, because I mean, one of the things that I love about sort of hosting this community and supporting this community is the fact that we have so much knowledge within our business community that people are quite happy to openly share. And the legend that is Russ has built a platform on the Havering Means Business website that effectively means that if you're part of the community and you've missed Francis's presentation, if you're a premium member, you've got access to all of this knowledge from Carol, from Sandra, from Francis, even from me. I don't know how much mine is worth, but we'll glaze over that. But certainly have a look, if you are a premium member, on the website to make sure you're benefiting from all that knowledge. Because I think you're right. Those tips that Francis shares, one of them could be super valuable. So thank you. We really appreciate that. Thank you, Carol. You don't want to share a personal one this week, no?
No, that's all I've got for you.
Okay, cool. Stacey, thank you. Stacey, 2 weeks in.
Yes.
What's your win? What's your big win this week? What have you done that's like, okay, that's really good? Right.
So win for me was I onboarded a new client yesterday. So I've already onboarded 5. I've got 5 at the moment.
Five in 2 weeks.
A new one. Yeah, I onboarded a new one yesterday. So very exciting. I was very happy about that. So I will be having a few gins this evening to celebrate. Maybe about 4 o'clock ish. Maybe I might give myself a bit of an early start today.
You know what we need? We need a Havering Means Business gin club. Clearly.
Yeah.
Won't get any objections from me on that one.
Exactly. I think that might be a delegated job to you, Sandra, to set up the gin club. I like that idea. And talk to me. I mean, 5 clients in the first 2 weeks of business is pretty good progress. So help me understand where those clients have come from.
So obviously I've been in lots of different various virtual assistance groups. I've been networking quite a lot whilst I was in the process of setting up the business. Yeah. So it was actually been purely from networking and liaising with people that I've actually been able to get the clients on board to begin with. One of the clients that I've just onboarded is actually somebody that I hired as a temp when I was working in corporate. She then started her own PR and marketing agency and is now one of my clients. So she reached out to me and said, I need help. So yeah, that's been amazing. So it's all about those connections and keeping those connections on fire and making sure you're just keeping them just making sure you just stay with those connections. Really.
We talk about this in the community a lot, but my own personal belief is those relationships and just making sure that you never know where they're going to go. I'm doing some work. He's an introducer to Zavello, my financial planning business. Somebody I worked with 15 years ago who's just taken over as head of equity release at a big property company. They haven't got financial planning on, so he's now referring his work to me. But just building that relationship and seeing where it goes and staying in touch, isn't it? Social media is a good way to do that, clearly.
Yes.
Thanks, Stacey, and well done on those first 5 clients. It was brilliant news.
Thank you very much.
Talk to me about your big wins.
It's boring, to be honest, Chris, but I've received some revenue this week for the first time since the end of June. Okay. So I got very excited to see a little bit of money in my bank. But no, the other thing was I made contact with a client, an accountant practice in Goodmays, who I hadn't seen for about 7 years. And we've had a coffee now and we've re-established our relationship again. And hopefully that's going to be of benefit to me in due course.
Right.
But I'm interested with Sandra and her HR mentioning academies, right? Because my daughter and my wife work for an academy in Stratford in East London. And they're always struggling with recruitment and things like that. And I'll come back to you, Sandra, on that, and maybe we can discuss it.
Yeah, happy to help any way we can. Yeah, no problem at all, Steve.
Thank you.
Cheers, Stephen. Well done on the revenue and building that relationship.
That's right. I will look at I know that Russell's been sending me details and yourself about premium membership, and I'll look into that again. I've been a bit dismissive because I've been quite busy, but I'll be looking into that definitely.
no pressure. We do. I mean, apologies for Russell's memes. I mean, I don't know where he's getting those images. He's sending everybody and posting on the group. I think they're. I mean, he said to me, Steve, "Don't worry, I've got the marketing plan in place. I'm going to pick memes." When he picked one from Prisoner Cell Block Cage, I mean, I don't know where he's going with that. I think he needs Francis's help, to be honest. But yeah, we've worked really hard to make sure the premium community is a really decent value. We're continuing to do that. As you know, Steve, we don't run this community for massive amounts of profit, because we don't need to, because of the work we do at Savello, but it does need to be paid for. So if you did want to be part of it, we'd make sure you benefit.
All right.
But thank you,
Chris.
appreciate that. Sandra, talk to me about your big win.
Oh, it's been more of business as usual, to be quite honest. But on saying that, I did win 2 new clients, 2 new schools actually this week. And that's me now. Who was it that said something about world domination? I think that was Stacey, isn't it? Because my initial focus is let's win as many schools as I can in Tower Hamlets. I'm up to, I think, about 32 at the moment. And I only started with one about 4 years ago. But this week I've now branched into 2 other local authorities, one at Waltham Forest and one in Newham. So I'm going for world, like you, Stacey, going for world domination here, definitely.
Amazing stuff.
That's my big win today.
Okay, well, Steve might be able to help you with that, Sandra, because of the connection with Stratford. So yeah, I'll let you guys chat. And then Simon, tell us a little bit about your big wins this week, mate.
Well, they're not my wins, they're actually client wins. One of the things that our funders are really keen to do is to come back to us and say, well, what impact have you had working with these businesses? And a good way of tracking that is how we help them win new contracts. So probably over the last week and a half, actually, we've probably just with SMEs or SMMEs brought in probably about £30,000 worth of business that they wouldn't have got if they weren't on the programme. With the Havering Networker that we do, I had to look at the figures this week. We're probably in the region of around £30,000 worth of business that's being shared in a virtual room, which is now a physical room as well. So yeah, it's the wins of our clients rather than the wins of me.
Amazing stuff, and that's great work supporting your clients. Thanks, I really appreciate that. And Francis, tell us about your big win next week.
Oh, my big win. So today I've relaunched Brainiacs over on Instagram, and it has been a bit of a slog. It's been dealing with automations, and I wanted, because one of the key features of Brainiacs is that people can fill out a content plan, send it into me and my team so we can review it for them. So they have a whole month's worth of content. And it was just figuring out the way to automate that. And I was pulling my hair out. So the fact that I did that and it's now working means that that's a big old win. And I'm very excited for today, because it's just been announced at 7 o'clock that it's all open.
Cool, amazing stuff, great stuff. Thank you for everybody for joining us this morning. As ever, I've loved seeing you. But we have got next week our next live event. So that's at Cranham Golf Club, kicking off at 10 to 12. It's a free event. We're running it in partnership with the Lower Thames Crossing, who said to us that they need Havering businesses to tender for their contracts. They've said to us that they want us involved, and we've got the Hornchurch and Upminster MP coming along because she wants to support Havering businesses as well. It's looking like it's going to be a pretty busy event. It's free, and we'd love you to come along if you're free and take a look at the group to see when it is, and we'll make sure we get invitations sent out for that. And then, as Steve mentioned, we've had an influx of new premium members because the offer we've got at the moment is ending pretty soon. It's ending in 10 days' time. So if you want to have a chat with us about that, don't phone me, phone Russ, because he's the actual boss and the actual expert, and he'll be able to help you and support you with premium membership. That's it for today. I hope you have a lovely Friday and a great weekend, and I will see you in the community soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Francis, as well, for the presentation.
Yeah, really good,
Yeah, brilliant
Francis.
presentation, Francis.